Good morning, students and veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, students and honored guests, we gather here today to pay tribute to the brave men and women who have selflessly served our nation, defending the principles of freedom and democracy. On this Veterans Day, we come together to express our gratitude and respect for their sacrifice and dedication. Before we stand for the national anthem, let us first recognize all those who have served here. Please stand when I announce the branch of military in which you have served. United States Army. United States Navy. United States Marine Corps. United States Air Force. United States Coast Guard. Thank you all for your service. We also would like to recognize family members of those who have served or are serving. If your spouse has served or is serving, please stand. If you have or have had a child that served or is serving, please stand. If you have or have had a parent who has served, please stand. Thank you all for the sacrifice that you have made. Let us now all stand for the playing of the national anthem performed by the Hico Brass Trio. Thank you, Brass Trio. A poem for Veterans Day. In fields of courage where heroes tread, a tapestry of honor in hues of red. On this day, we stand in gratitude for those who served with fortitude. Through battles fierce, they marched ahead, with valor true where angels tread. In distant lands and homes so near, they faced the shadows without a fear. The scars they bear, both seen and not, a testament to battles fought. In silent fields and memories we find the echoes of their valiant mind. Veterans, a beacon shining bright, guiding us through the darkest night. Their sacrifice, a sacred art, etched forever in each grateful heart. So on this day, we stand as one, in honor of deeds bravely done. To those who served both near and far, thank you for being our guiding star. Hico Assemble will now play the Armed Force Medley.
Our speaker today is Dr. Calvin Neal Wade. Dr. Wade attended the Hico schools all 12 years of his childhood and was a 1970 graduate of Hico High School. He went on to receive an electronic technology degree from Tarrant County College and bachelor degree in engineering technology from Dallas Baptist University. After a 20-year career in the electrical and mechanical engineering fields, he returned to Tarleton State University and completed the Tarleton Model of Accelerated Teacher Education. Dr. Wade became a Hico ISD teacher in 1992 and taught in the elementary and high schools until he was named Director of Technology in 1998. During the following years, he continued his education and eventually received his master's and doctorate in Bible studies from Master's Divinity School of Evansville, Indiana. Dr. Wade retired from the school district in 2012, but continues to serve as a part-time technology consultant since that time. Over the last 45 years, Dr. Wade has served several churches in Minnesota and Texas as a bivocational pastor, and is currently the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Iredell. Dr. Wade is married to Leela Fitzgerald Wade. Dr. Wade and Leela have 5 children, 3 of which are school administrators, and 16 grandchildren, 3 of which are Hico ISD students. Dr. Wade, will you now come and speak to us today?
Well, good morning. I want to thank the school for their confidence in asking me to speak, and I'm so glad that we always make sure that our veterans are honored. I want to thank each of you for your attendance as we recognize these great men and women who have served our country so well in the military. They are due our greatest thanks. Now, I grew up in the mid-'60s, which to most of you that seems like ancient history. But I had a great just admired those who served in our armed forces. That was of course, in the middle of the Vietnam War. And I had a map of Vietnam on my wall in my bedroom. I tracked what was going on every evening in the evening news. I got the encyclopedia out and studied all the different ranks in all the different services. And I was greatly inspired by Sergeant Barry Sadler's song, The Ballad of the Green Beret. Many of us know that. But when I was in high school, I was diagnosed with a blood sugar disorder that helps me be who I am today. But when my local draft board here in Hamilton County found out, they classified me 1Y. And that doesn't even exist anymore. But 1Y meant I could only be called to service in case of a declared war or a national emergency, which of course Vietnam was never declared that by our Congress, but our troops over there knew that it was war. And although I never served in the military, I remained somewhat close to it. I married into it. My wife, when she was a little girl, thought her name really was Leela Mae Sargent Fitzgerald. She introduced herself to people that way. And so when I came along, my soon-to-be father-in-law had served in World War II in the Navy, and then re-enlisted again in the Army, served in Korea, France, and different stations stateside. When I met him, he was teaching Army ROTC at Arlington Heights High School in Fort Worth, and so I got to be a part of some of the activities with him. Now, when I first came on the scene, I don't know whether he thought I was worthy of a K ration, much less a C ration. But after time, we developed a very good respect for each other. And some of you don't even know what I'm talking. Most of you don't. But for years, I carried a P-38. These guys here know what I'm talking about. A P-38 on my key ring until it kept opening up and cutting my leg open, so that had to be put aside for a while. But back to the real reason we're here today. One branch of the service picked a motto that is actually true of all of them, and that's Semper Fi. Of course, Semper Fi is short for Semper Fidelis, which is the motto of the United States Marine Corps, but it's Latin for always faithful. And that means always faithful to this country, faithful to the Constitution, faithful to the principles that founded this great country. So as I look back at the veterans of this country, I see a long line of men and women who've remained faithful to this country, even if it possibly meant their death, as it did so many. And although this is true from the very birth of our country, I want to begin with those veterans who are still alive, although the group from earlier days grows smaller all the time. You know, when the world was threatened by Nazi Germany, by fascist Italy and Imperial Japan, we had no choice but to go to war. And the young men and women at that time had just come through the Great Depression. Terrible time in the country. They and their families had suffered greatly in ways that most of us here don't have any understanding. You know, we get upset at the price of gas or maybe the supply line of getting something to us, but those people had no money or nothing to buy anyhow. But they survived. But yet when the call came, so many of the men and women volunteered to be sent all over the world to fight for this country's freedom, as well as the freedom of many others. They remained faithful for those 4 years until that victory was won, and for many years thereafter. You know, as the post-war years began, things in America began to brighten. The United States had become a world power. The economy began to grow, and there were jobs again. But in 1950, the socialist nation of North Korea invaded South Korea, and South Korea was under the protectorate of the United Nations, but of course it was the United States that supplied 90% of the manpower and support. And once again, during that time, many of our men and women left the prospects of this new life in the U.S. to remain faithful again to the principles and commitments for another 3 years. My father-in-law was one of them. Then, just 2 years later, a regional conflict in Vietnam began when France, who was the colonial government, was forced out. And the northern part of that country was under the control, once again, of communist China, began to attack. Now, early on, the United States only sent military advisors to help the Vietnamese troops. But in 1964, the U.S. Congress gave President Lyndon B. Johnson the authority to increase the military presence in Vietnam, and he did. And this was the point where the Cold War with the communists was anything but cold. Many of us in our age group, there's a few maybe, no, maybe not. Many in my age group probably remembers having to crawl under our school desks in case we were attacked by Russia. Hico High School at that time was a bomb shelter. The old school over there was supplied with food, Geiger counters, everything that hopefully a little of Hico could survive an atomic attack. That's the world we lived in at that time. It was a turbulent time in our country, and the Vietnam War was unpopular. But our troops again remained faithful to their calling, and many were wrongfully abused upon their return to this country after their faithful service. They were spit on, they were accused of the most horrific of crimes. And I happened to find a quote that speaks to this very time. Some of you remember a movie called Good Morning Vietnam. And the actor in that movie was, of course, Robin Williams, but he was portraying an actual person by the name of Adrian Cronair. Now, Adrian Cronair did serve as the Air Force disc jockey on the radio station there in Vietnam. And I found a quote by Cronair, and this is what he wrote, quote, I am here to tell you that I went out into the field close to a dozen times and interviewed hundreds of Americans. And you know what? I never met a single murderer. I never met a single rapist. I never met a single baby killer. I never met a single psychotic. I never met a single dope addict. Who I did meet were a number of honorable men and women who might not have been so pleased to be where they were, but they were determined to do their duty as well and honorable and effectively as they could. End quote. He said it well. They remain faithful in conditions that most of us have no way of understanding. Now, I know I need to guard my time, but here today, we have veterans who have served in many places, maybe in some of the earlier wars. The Gulf War of 1991, the Iraqi War from 2003 to 2011, possibly served in Afghanistan starting in 2001 after 9/11, and in many other stations, both at home and abroad. And continue to, as far as that go. And like those earlier undeclared wars, sometimes they have suffered not only the pains of military life, they've had to weather the winds of sometimes popular opinion, but even worse, the directions or maybe the lack of direction from politicians. But in all this, they remain faithful to their calling and to their oath, which a part is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Now, personally, in my 45 years as a minister, a pastor, I've had the privilege of being the pastor to several veterans. And I've seen their faithfulness. I think their faithfulness was based on their understanding of God's faithfulness to them and to all of us. And this is what I hope we can learn from these men and women, to remain faithful. We presently live, you're keeping up with anything going on, we presently live at a time when the Constitution and the principles that this country was founded on are being greatly shaken and are really under attack. And although we may not have served as these veterans have, we each bear the responsibility to remain faithful to the foundations this country was created on, to be, as the Marines say, semper fi, always faithful. Once again, thank you, veterans, for your service to our country.
Hico Secondary School would like to thank you all for attending our Veterans Day program. Thank you, Dr. Wade, for willingness to come speak to us today. Thank you, veterans and families, for your service. At this time, we will give those visiting the opportunity to leave first. Students, please remain seated until further instruction.